Welcome back. So those of you that watch this channel regularly know that it's normally a very positive channel, talking about music that I love and am passionate about. But just for fun, I thought I would go a little bit negative today and do a video on horrible songs from great artists. No matter how great the artist, if the career is long enough, there's going to be a stinker in there somewhere. And I think these three are some of the biggest offenders. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Any fans of these songs out there, please let me know and tell me why. This should be a fun discussion. All right, let's do it. Ever since Martha Reeves and the Vandellas dropped their version of Dancin' in the Street in the summer of 1964, a song that was written for them by Marvin Gaye, William Stevenson, and Ivy Jo Hunter, there have been many cover versions. Just to name a few, we had the Kinks, the Mamas and the Papas, the Grateful Dead, and even Van Halen in the early 1980s. But it was the 1985 version, of which we've heard just a little piece, a last-minute, spur-of-the-moment collaboration between Mick Jagger and David Bowie that I think has proven to be the most controversial. It was recorded in conjunction with the massive Live Aid benefit concerts organized by Bob Geldof for African famine relief. And while this version has been derided as cringeworthy by myself and many, many others, we'll get to the details on that in a moment, it has to be said that the song was a massive hit. It reached number one in the UK for 4 weeks. It also hit number one in Ireland, Canada, Australia, Spain, and the Netherlands. It made the top 10 in the US. And if that wasn't enough, this version was once voted 8th best collaboration of all time in a Rolling Stone readers poll. So it's clearly not without its fans, all of which begs the question, where does this YouTube joker get off saying that this is one of the most embarrassing rock and roll tunes of all time? Well, there is another side to the story. Musically, I don't think it's a complete disaster. For me, it's just a very pedestrian version of Dancing in the Street, another version that doesn't really add anything to the original, as opposed to, say, the Van Halen version from their Diver Down album, which I thought really took the song in a whole new direction. To be fair, much of the criticism, and there's been a ton of it, is aimed not so much at the song itself, but at the music video. Like the recording, it was filmed in a hurry within a few hours in an area of London known as the Docklands district. The video was directed by a guy called David Mallet, but I use the word directed very loosely because there's not a whole lot of direction going on here. It's more or less get the camera running and let Mick and Bowie do their thing. They're literally just running around dancing in the streets. The video was recorded in an all-night session that followed quickly on the heels of the recording for the actual song. A couple of interesting quotes regarding that session. Co-producer Alan Winstonley said that only Bowie was present at first for the initial rehearsals, and he said it sounded absolutely awful, like a cabaret band, but that once Jagger showed up, it picked up a bit. Meanwhile, drummer Neil Conti said that Jagger went off on an ego trip, strutting around trying to upstage Bowie. And honestly, I think a little bit of that vibe spills over into the video. Some of those scenes where they're nose to nose, I feel like Jagger is so aggressively pushing into Bowie's face, I would just want to pull away if it was me. For me, the most cringeworthy moments come right at the beginning. I suspect most of you haven't seen or heard this in a while. It's not a song that has remained popular over the years. But just to refresh your memory, let's take a look.
Okay, Tokyo, South America, Australia, France, Germany, UK, Africa.
Okay, so I realize this stuff is very subjective. I'm sure there are those out there who find that very cute and fun. But for me, all I can say is whenever I hear Bowie come out with South America, I just feel kind of embarrassed, and I'm not the only one. This video has been described by many as embarrassing, campy, and cheesy. Another bizarre moment comes when Mick reaches down and grabs what appears to be a Diet Coke and takes a long swig off of it as he goes about his dance routine.
It's an invitation across the nation, a chance for folks to meet. Laughing and singing.
I don't know, maybe you could argue that this video is so bad that it crosses that line where it becomes entertaining again just due to the comedic value. In 2014, The Guardian ranked the video as the #1 worst music video of all time, and NME placed it at number 12 on their list of the 50 worst music videos ever. To add to the humiliation, in 2010, a silent version was created, which replaced the original audio with some very bizarre vocalizing, supposedly provided by Jagger and Bowie, to pretty hilarious effect.
For dancing in the street, dance Chicago. Only New Orleans, in New York City. Everywhere.
To be fair, I don't think anyone involved in this project took it too seriously. It was done in a hurry for charity. It sold a ton, so from that angle, it's mission accomplished. On the other hand, I think it's safe to say we might have expected something a little bit better from two rock legends such as Mick Jagger and David Bowie.
We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. Built this city. We built this city on rock and roll.
I bet some of you might have guessed this one would make an appearance in this video. We Built This City, the debut single from Starship, taken from their 1985 debut album, Knee Deep in the Hoopla, which, just as an aside, I might put up as a candidate for worst ever album title. What do you guys think? Here again, we have a song that has been much derided and ridiculed over the years, but which was a massive hit, like Dancin' in the Street, a #1 in several countries. Unlike Dancin' in the Street, this one hit #1 in the US as well. And maybe that's not too surprising. I think if we look back over the history of pop music, it's certainly not always the most quality material that makes it to #1. Sometimes it's just the cheesiest earworm that makes it to the top, and I think this definitely qualifies as that. Now, the title of this video is Embarrassing Songs from Great Bands, so I should probably make it clear that I don't consider Starship a great band. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of this one. Power ballads like Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now just never really was my cup of tea. But I'm basically connecting Starship to that great lineage of Jefferson Airplane, which became Jefferson Starship, and then in 1985 became Starship. While it's true that by this point Grace Slick was the only original member, there is that tenuous connection to what I thought was the very cool stuff Jefferson Starship did, particularly in the mid-70s. Those beautiful rambling ballads like Miracles and With Your Love. and of course the classic Jefferson Airplane, which helped spearhead the San Francisco hippie rock scene, for lack of a better term. I feel like I know my rock history and trivia pretty well, but one thing that kind of blew my mind in doing a bit of research for this segment is that this song was co-written by Bernie Taupin. Yes, that Bernie Taupin, Elton John's famed lyricist and collaborator. I would not have guessed that in a million years, and I suspect many of you wouldn't either. The bulk of the song was written by Taupin and a guy called Martin Page, and according to Taupin, the lyrics were a lament about the fact that many live music venues in LA were closing around that time. Now, remember, Elton John got his big break in America with an extended run at the famed Troubadour on LA's Sunset Strip. So I imagine that whole scene was very important to Taupin. And bearing all that in mind, the lyrics start to make a bit more sense. That's one of the criticisms that's been leveled against this tune over the years, is that the lyrics are silly or unintelligible. Someone always playing corporation games. Who cares? They're always changing corporation names. We just want to dance here. Someone stole the stage. They call us irresponsible. Write us off the page. Taupin says the song was originally conceived as being very dark and mid-tempo. And if you marry that idea to the lyrics we've just heard, it starts to become a bit more believable that this sprang from the mind of Bernie Taupin. But then the song's eventual producer, Peter Wolf, by the way, not the same Peter Wolf who was the singer for Jay Giles' band, this is a different one, got hold of it and turned it into the pop confection that we all know and love or hate, as the case may be. Without a doubt, the single line that has been savaged the most by critics and fans alike is that little pre-chorus. Marconi plays the mamba, listen to the radio. Now, many people don't realize that Marconi is the guy who invented radio. So to all those folks, the line must have just sounded like total gibberish. But even to those of us who were aware, it still comes across as really hokey. But it doesn't end there. During the bridge, we hear what sounds like a radio station broadcast piped in underneath the music. This is the voice of Les Garland, an MTV exec and former DJ. His voiceover is very San Francisco-centric. He talks about the Golden Gate Bridge and the city by the bay.
Looking out over that Golden Gate Bridge on another gorgeous sunny Saturday, and I'm seeing that bumper-to-bumper traffic.
Don't you remember?
It's your favorite radio station in your favorite radio city, the city by the bay, the city that rocks, the city that never sleeps.
But then radio stations around the country were encouraged to personalize this section and put their own little voiceovers, including, of course, their own station's call letters. And all of this in a song that was supposed to be a lament about the corporatizing of rock music. The irony was just too delicious. For me, Heart belongs in a certain class of groups that had their hard rock heyday in the 70s and then hit sort of a rough patch right around the turn of the decade and had to reinvent themselves in the 80s. Aerosmith would be another great example of this phenomenon. As someone who was just discovering music and rock and roll in particular in the early 70s, I'm always partial to that era of such a band's career. Heart was a force of nature in the early to mid 70s, cranking out stone cold classics like Crazy on You and Barracuda, Ann and Nancy Wilson blazing a trail for women in the genre of hard rock. But the Heart of the 80s was really a completely different band. This was the era of big hair, big slick power ballads, flashy music videos, and the hiring of professional songwriters to come in and crank out that big top 10 hit. And again, while that sort of thing isn't really my cup of tea, I can always appreciate a well-crafted, well-performed, well-produced pop tune, and Heart had some really good ones during this time. Things like What About Love, These Dreams, Alone, maybe the best of the bunch. Incredible vocal performance from Ann Wilson on that one. And then in 1990, just in time to cap off a decade that had more than its fair share of pop fluff, Heart released a tune that, in my opinion, holds none of the charms of the three songs I just mentioned. This one was called All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You. Now, of course, it's very slickly produced, it's well played, and sounds great as always, but it features a very undistinguished melody and lyrics which I can only describe as bizarre and schmaltzy. The song was written by legendary producer Robert John Mutt Lange, best known for his work with hard rock acts such as AC/DC and Def Leppard, but he worked with many others, including Shania Twain, who was his wife for a while. The other thing that blew me away is Heart's version was not the first. The song was originally released way back in 1979 and was by Dobie Gray. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say his version is far superior. The lyrics are completely different, and they're nothing earth-shattering. It's just one of those classic, come on, baby, let's get down and dirty. All I want to do is make love to you. There's a million things that we could do. And darling, I just want to do them with you. But at least it doesn't have that creepy factor that Heart's version does. We'll get into that in a moment. Incidentally, Lange had also offered the tune to Don Henley, but he declined to record it. Let's take a quick listen to the Dobie Gray version and keep that Henley thing in mind. I could absolutely hear him singing this, particularly this version, which has a groove that's very reminiscent of the Eagles' The Long Run.
All I wanna do is make love to you. It isn't just a phase I'm going through. No, darling, I just wanna do it to you. Oh, you're coming to my world, you beautiful girl.
Pretty good, right? Which brings us once again to the updated version. I definitely won't say new and improved version. Now, as far as I can tell, Mutt Lange is the only credited songwriter on both versions. So I guess he just completely revamped the lyrics a decade later for Heart. And it's a whole different vibe. The Heart version takes on a much more narrative form. It tells a twisted little story that is another one of these bits that's just honestly embarrassing to relate. But here goes. It's a rainy night and a woman is driving in her car. She sees a young man standing by the side of the road, so she pulls over and asks if he wants a ride. By the way, not exactly recommended behavior there. Kids, don't try this at home. So I pulled up alongside and offered him a ride. He accepted with a smile, so we drove for a while. Not surprisingly, sparks instantly fly between the pair. I didn't ask him his name, this lonely boy in the rain. Fate, tell me it's right. Is this love at first sight? Please don't make it wrong. Just stay for the night. Okay, so at this point, it's a one-night stand. Not exactly unusual in the world of rock and roll lyrics. Then we get the chorus, and even that has not survived the rewrite intact. All I want to do is make love to you. Say you will, you want me to. All I want to do is make love to you. I've got loving arms to hold on to. They quickly find a motel room, and of course we all know what happens there. But we get a level of detail regarding the young man's proficiency as a lover that I don't think any of us wanted or needed. He brought the woman out of me so many times easily. And in the morning when he woke, all I left him was a note. And here's where the cringe factor gets cranked up to 11. We find out that this woman is married and wants a child, but for whatever reason, her husband is not getting the job done. So this whole encounter is just about finding an anonymous donor. The note she left him reads, "I am the flower, you are the seed. We walked in the garden, we planted a tree. Don't try to find me, please don't you dare. Just live in my memory, you'll always be there." So bad. But wait, there's more. This sordid little tale has one more plot twist yet to go. Years later, the couple randomly bump into each other somewhere, and the man is shocked to see her with her son, who of course is the spitting image of him, the result of their night of passion. And so it happened one day, we came round the same way. You can imagine his surprise when he saw his own eyes. Ann Wilson herself has repeatedly trashed this song in interviews. She told Dan Rather that it was hideous and that it stood for everything the band was trying to get away from at this point, but that they were pressured to record it, I assume by the record company. Oh, and one other thing I have to mention, scattered throughout the video and apropos of nothing, we get these random shots of Ann's guitar-playing sister, Nancy, sort of gazing at and kissing her acoustic guitar. What was that all about? And on that note, we'll bring this one to a close. Hope you guys had fun with this one. I should mention that I'm a big fan of pretty much every artist in this video. They've all had amazing careers, but as mentioned, even the greatest artists have a misstep every once in a while. So I thought it might be interesting to examine a couple of those. Thanks again. See you soon.